Aloha, Rich Halverson here. This is ICS321, and in this video I'm going to go over the the update film API that I've created for my demonstration project, final project for the class. And I'm going to go over both the API code, which is really what I would be handing in as um, my work. But then I'm also going to show you the simple form that I created to exercise that API, because I'm going to have to demonstrate it in a little video at the end. And now, if you want to get fancy with that, with the tool that the applet, whatever you design, the client that exercises your API, and you want to get fancy and you want that to be part of your grade, go for it. Okay, yes, that can be part of your grade too. I want to see how much you can do, you know. All right, so let me share my screen. All right, so I'm sharing my screen. I'm trying out this AI companion tool that we now have available on Zoom. Anyway, so ICS321, if you look in the assignments, I'm working on my final project here. And just to summarize, what I've handed in so far is what would be down here. This is what I would see. The important thing is that I have a URL to my final project, and my final project is passworded, and then so I have to have a username and a password to get into my final project. I've in previous videos I've shown you how to set up the final project here. Here, this describes the final project. Video 1, video 2 shows you how to set it up with this code I've given you. I've given you code for all these videos. And then this video explains deleting a film, which is the easiest thing, to short form and a short API. This video here that I just made last time explains the adding a film, which is a little bit bigger. And in the video I'm making right now is going to be updating, which is the most complex. So if I go to my website itself, richardh@ics321.org, you go to yours, you see these are the assignments from the previous, the previous assignments, which you should have there. But you notice my final is not shown because it's hidden. I closed my browser and opened it up again, so I have to type in the password again. But until I've typed in the password, I don't see it here. Okay, so when your neighbors go look at your website, they shouldn't see your final project there. And you can name it anything you want. Okay, you just have to put the name of it. You just have to put the name of it down here, so we can get at it. Okay, the people that are grading your project. All right, so so what I do is I go slash that particular file name, enter, directory name and password thing comes up. I think it was Richard October 18, which is when I created it. Okay, here we are. And so now we're in final. And now, in fact, when we go back here and we hit refresh, well, anyway, it should have shown. Do I see it here? Well, anyway, that's weird. Well, anyway, it's there. And here we are. So, so I'm going to show you update film. I'm going to show you this, explain this. Okay. So, so this one's a lot more complicated. First of all, you have to select a film to update. So you can select any of the films to update, and this one here was the one I added in the previous video. This is the new one here. And so, for example, I can select that, and that automatically generates a call to the API. And the parameters are table equals film, function equals select, and film ID equals 1001. Just so you know that this is how it works. Can I copy this? Might not be able to copy. Okay, I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to go to Richard H. And I'm going to, still don't see my final, and I'm going to go to we're looking at API update film. So let's go there, and we see nothing. But if I put the rest of this question mark, no. Yeah, if I put, well, that's it. Let me just paste this. If I put what I just copied from the menu item, or from this, I copy that here and I press enter, we see this is what comes back. So this is another way that you can test your APIs, by just typing in a URL with a set of name value pairs. And so if you want, you can just put a bunch of links if you want to demonstrate your project. If you don't want to bother with a form or anything, but it's got to be easy to demonstrate it, because we don't want to have to go in and look in your code unless we need to, or unless we just want to, unless we're looking for more points, we might go and look at your code. Then you can just put a bunch of URLs that look like this, and this is what comes back. And so let's go back to here, and let's do this for real. And so we select a film, this thing pops up, we click OK, and I've got it set up here so the JSON response appears in this text box over here. Okay. And I tell you what, let's go right now into the film manager of cPanel, and let's double click on here. Let's check something. Okay. And go into final, and let's take a look at the form first. And this is a pretty big one. But what I wanted to show you was down here where the form starts, which is the body of the HTML document. The form is right here. This is when I click the submit button and it goes to a new page. This gets activated. When I just click on the this is when I address this API directly without this form. I go there directly, and that's more or less what this does. When you select a film from the dropdown, that's what this is. Then on change, it calls this AJAX request, and up here in this AJAX request, it comes in right here. But the first part is the response back from the server. This does an AJAX request, and then the response comes back from the server, and this thing processes the response from the server. And this is, I'll talk about this in just a moment, but this down here in this JavaScript function, or this method, this is where we set up the query string to do the AJAX request, and that's what queries the server. We get back the record for the film that we wanted, and then this up here, this populates our form. That's all this does. All this is it's JavaScript to populate the form, which is this stuff down here. You notice when this came back, when this came back, then all of these got populated. And so now we have a starting point to edit the film, okay? So let's take a little peek at the JavaScript that comes back. This is the request packet. All we are is sending the film, the function, and the film ID. That's what we did over here. The film, the function, and the film ID, and this will come back. But then in our API, this is back from the API, I push in the SQL statements that are used, and all it is I'm first going to select the record out of the film table, but then I'm also going to select all the records out of the film actor table. 12 of them came back. And I'm also going to select all of the records out of the film category table, and there's one. Okay, so and these are the records I'm returning. These are the fields from the film record directly, and then turn off the sound, and then this was generated, the results of the category search, up here, this one, and then this is the result of the actors search. So to build the response back from the API is not super easy, but it's pretty easy, and I'm going to show you that. In fact, why don't I show you that right now? Let's go to the API. Okay, we'll edit this. So we start out by making sure we can access the database, and we initialize this SQL used array, and these are the name value pairs that come in. These name value pairs, this request will recognize name value pairs either coming from a get, which is the URL itself, or it'll recognize name value pairs coming in from a form packet, which is what happens in these examples, like when you press this. After this has been filled and you filled in the form here for what the changes are that you want, then you can either do an AJAX request again, and that result is going to come back here, or you can just click the submit button here, and then that sends this whole thing to the server without having to build a JSON packet, because it's done automatically, the old 1995 way of doing this, the traditional way. And so they come in here. This is they come in here. This is oh no, this is the form. Okay, the API. They come in here. Now, if you just want to recognize get, you just want to recognize the URL, then you use _get. If you just want to recognize the form submit, the old-fashioned way, then it's a post. The method is post. But when you're creating the form, of course, you can choose the method that you want. And that's what I've done here, because I just do everything get. I might as well just do everything get. But if I wanted to, I can change this to post, and then you wouldn't see the URL up at the top when the data comes back, when the packet comes back. Anyway, I hope I'm not confusing you. So for updating, a whole lot has to come in, but that's not what. See, we are going to first look. Okay, these, when you submit an update, there's the data that you want to change stuff to, rating, release year, and then there's also whether or not you want to actually commit to the update, and that's what these checkboxes are over here. We're going to send back, with the traditional submit, you send back everything, but how do you know which ones are being updated? Well, you could look at the differences and all that, but it's easier, it's better, I think, to just indicate which ones you're sending as an update, and then those are the only ones that are acted upon. this previous value thing, when we do updates, we're going to do optimistic concurrency. Okay, you can look up optimistic concurrency, but that's the easiest way to ensure that if two applications or two users are accessing the same thing, you don't want one update to interrupt another. Okay, so what this does is when you load this, when you select one of these, you select one, it's going to populate the values in both sides, on both sides, and then you're going to change this side. When you do updates, you're going to change this side, and you're going to check the ones that you're going to change. Anyway, so let's look at this. Comes back, and you notice it's the same on both sides. So all of this data has to go in. All of the data here has to go in when you're doing an update. The values that you want to change, and then also what the previous values were for everything, because you want to make sure that the record has not changed since you fetched all this data. The record has changed since you fetched all this data, then your update doesn't work, and you just have to try again. You hit refresh, and you'll notice some data might be different over here because somebody else changed it while you're in the middle of changing yours. All right, so this grabs all of the data that's coming in from the form. Now this is a function that I've written that checks to make sure checks to see if the fields have changed. So instead of grabbing the previous results or the previous field, the previous values of the fields, or I could say the original values, all these original values, I just go ahead and grab those out inside this function. You know, this is a global variable anyway. So here is where, because this is the only place I use them, I grab all the previous functions and I build up this where statement, and that then I check, and I have to do so this checks to make sure that that the film fields are the same as they were. And then down here, I grab up the actor IDs, and I grab them up in order because the list came to me in order, and I'm being, you know, I get a list of actor IDs all in order, and I compare it with the previous list of actor IDs, and they're all in order. So if I just make strings out of them and I compare the strings, if they're equal, then I know they're equal. If they're not equal, I know they're not equal. And if they're not equal, they won't be because some actor IDs were out of order. Okay, that's why I'm sorting them here. So that's going to check to make sure the actor IDs are the same. This is going to check to make sure the category IDs are the same, and so on. And if nothing has changed, you send back, you record pass. Otherwise, if they're not the same, then you record that they didn't pass, and you don't continue with the update. Okay, so that's the end of that. Now here, this is kind of where everything starts. So first it checks to make sure that you said that the function is update, and then it makes sure that you've said that the table is the film table. And then it just checks to see if the fields have changed. It just calls that function I just described, checks to see if they're changed. And so it's inside here, it reads up the current record again, reads it all back up again, and checks that the record hasn't changed. If it's true that the record hasn't changed, then it goes ahead and it sets up the update statements using sets up the update statement to update the film record. And then what it has to do is it deletes all of the film actor records all of the film actor records that are connected to the film in the film actor table. So it deletes all those film actor records, and then it writes them all back in again, the new one, the new set. So there is a moment there where the film, the this film actor table is empty, which is saying that there's no actors associated with this film, but that's only momentarily until they're rewritten. Now, you can actually put all this in a transaction. I thought about that. I just thought of that now. You there's a PHP MySQL function for starting a transaction, and then at the very end you commit. And so you can do that if you want to. In fact, if you do that, if you throw that in there and test it, show me that you tested it, then boy, that'll be good points. Okay, hey, easy thing to do. You just got to figure out how to test it and show us easily that it works. The idea, the showing how to test it is a good exercise for you because when you're writing code that anybody else is going to use or look at, you're going to have to do something to demonstrate that it works. And so getting good at covering all those bases is a good thing for you to do. So we had to do when I was doing this stuff in the real world. All right, so so we delete all the current film actors. We add them. We add back in the new ones, the corrected ones. We delete all of the ones for film category. There's usually only one, and then we add the new category back in again. And each time we count up to see how many rows are affected and so on. And then we, you know, if there's no affected rows, then nothing was updated. If there, in fact, I can show you all this. This here is the simple function select that is in this API because the first, you know, it has to do with the selecting of this thing. So this is a select function. See, it's a select function that goes to this API that we're looking at. So that is covered down here. And here we just set up a select with a bunch of ands. So the where and this is true, this is true, this is true. And then we select it. And if we get back a record, if we get back the exact record that we're looking for, then the record's there, so nothing's changed. If we don't get back a record, if it comes back empty, then we know that it's changed. And so that's so so if we go back here now, let's exercise this a little bit. Did I show you? I wanted to show you the update film. This is the form here, but then I wanted to show you where this was over on this side, these text boxes. This is like one big huge table. Where does it start? I'm going to put order equals 1 first and refresh. We see there's a border around the whole thing. Border around the whole thing. And there's 2 columns. There's two columns, 1 column here and 1 column here. So the left column is going to be the form, and then the right column has these 2 text boxes, which are so this is the first form, and then the second form is all the way down here. I think, yeah, is down. This is the end of the table. Oh, where's the end of oh yeah, oh, this is the end of the table, then this is the end of the left column. The end of the left column. No, oh, this is the end of the left column. This is the start of the right column, which is this stuff on this side. And all we see there is a text box. I could have put a div, but I didn't want to put a div because sometimes these responses are really, really long, and then that would make everything go. So by just putting a text box, it all gets shoved into a text box that's a defined size, and then scroll bars appear if it goes beyond that. So this first one is going to be the response from the drop-down selecting of the film to update. And then this one is going to be response from the update request. So that's down here. And these are loaded in. This is the response from selecting the film, and this is simply the response all by itself from the update. And so if we look way up at the Ajax request, the top part, this Ajax request top part is sending, is what comes back. This down here is what creates what's sent. This just creates, sends the request to get the data from the film that you want to update. And then this here is what builds the query string to actually do the update. And we've got to include a whole bunch of stuff. We've got to include whether we want to update it, and we also have to include the previous amount, wherever that must be a previous amount, like for the cost. We want to put what we want to put in for the cost, the fact that we want to update it, and what it was. Okay, so and those all get added to the query string that we send across. And then this here, when we're just sending the update, it does, the update's done. This is just what comes back from the API saying, okay, it's all done. These are the SQL statements I used and everything else. When we select the film to update, when we do this, then we have a bunch of work to do. This is in the form update. Then we have a bunch of work to do because we have to take all these values and set the form. So all of this, all the way down to through here, this selects, this here sets the drop down, selects the drop down menus from the form to say what the special features are. This one here, and then one's for category and the one's for actors. So when we do select a film and it gets populated, you see two go there, one go there. Do we just have one there? Yeah, just have that one. And then for the previous values, we don't need to populate any select boxes. We just got to say what it is, say what they are, and this is a fine way to send it over, because that's exactly what we're going to compare it with. A string that looks like this, even though these are not in order. See, these are in a different order. These are in numerical order, and that the reason for that, of course, is because of how we grab them out here when we're making sure that with this function here, this function where we were comparing to make sure that the fields have been unchanged. When we grab it out, when we grab out the list of actors, we grab them out in the numerical order of the actor ID, and that's exactly how we send it over. And so then we can just compare strings. Easy. Okay, so let's change some stuff. First of all, I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to submit. Okay, there's the nice big query string, and it comes back, and when it built the query string, it didn't bother including anything that we didn't check here. So that's why all we see is the previous values. Then we come down here, and these are the select statements that it used. First, it's looked at the film ID to make sure that none of those fields have changed, and that passed. Then we looked at all of the actor IDs. We did this group concat, and came back with all the actor IDs and checked that, and these passed, you see. And that passed. And then we looked at the category IDs, and that passed. So then at the end of that method, at the end of this method, it says, if everything passed, it shoves in optimistic concurrency check passed, and that's what came back here. Optimistic concurrency check passed. and then it had no film record. Then it starts doing updates, and it said no rows were affected, no rows were affected, no rows were affected. Added them up, 0 rows were affected. So then it concludes that nothing was updated. It should be the same thing as when we do the traditional submit, but in this case, they all go over just because that's how submits work. Everything goes over. We don't see anything for the update checkboxes, because if they're not checked, they don't go over. If it's only if they are checked do they go over. And we see the same thing happens here. Nothing was updated. Okay, so that's the traditional where we don't write a bunch of JavaScript to build up the name value pairs in a URL. We just send them over. Let's see what happens when we change something. So I'm going to change the title to I'm going to say a brand new film for me. Why? Because I can't think of anything else to do. Brand new film for me, and I check the checkbox. And let's add. I'm going to hold the control key down. Let's add a deleted scene. Let's say that this is also a classic. And do that. And let's I'm going to hold the control key down, delete some of these people, and add some more. And I have to say that I'm going to change the actors. I'm going to not check this one so we can see. I'm going to check this one so we can see. And then we did change that. I'm going to might as well change the rental duration to something else. How about whatever? I don't know even what this is. Let's change the rental rate to something else, to $9.99. Now I'm going to change it to something I can remember. $9.59. And then I'm going to change the length to 70, but I am not going to check the checkbox. I want to see that this works. So title should change, and rental duration should change to 9. Rental rate should change to this. Length, even though we changed it over here, it should not change because we didn't check the checkbox. And special features should change, category ID will not change, and these should change. So let's see what happens when we submit this. Let's go ahead and do the Ajax request. And boom de boom, here, this is what comes back. We see that update, see, these are on, these are now on. Update title is on. Update rental duration is on. See, rental rate is on. Length is not on, even though it changes. The previous, oh, so we don't even include the new rental rate. Anyway, so what happens was first it checks to make sure that everything or nothing has changed, and then we do the update. We update the stuff that we can change directly into the film record, and then we got to delete all the actors and insert the new ones all back in again, and then we delete all the category. Oh, there were no category updates because we didn't check category updates. Okay, and so now let's I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna select my thing. Oh, look, now it says a brand new film for me, and it comes over, and look, a lot of these things are different. The rental rate did change, the length did not change, these changed, this did not change, and these are different. And if we go back to, I preserved this so we can see what the actual old values were, and these are the new values. So the old values were this, 47, 67, 76, and the new values are 14 got added in there, 47, 60, whatever. Okay, so so that shows that. Now there's one more thing I want to show you, and that is, how do you test optimistic concurrency? Well, let me refresh this. That's what this is over here, okay? And this is just set up to demonstrate optimistic concurrency. Let's select the film we just messed with. And so these are the previous values. Okay, you can't change the previous values. In fact, in a regular form for production, you wouldn't be able to see the previous values. They would be hidden fields. What I've done is instead of making them hidden fields, I have they're just right next to the title. Okay. Oh, okay. So title. There's the title. Here is the text box that's has the one you can change. This is the text box that has the previous value. So it comes over as this is name value pairs. This is what it comes over when you're building the URL for the Ajax request. You use this is the name for this name value pair. I'm kind of fancy here. I have a class called hidden, which is, but I made this a regular text box. Normally you would make the type be hidden, and then you wouldn't see this at all, and then you wouldn't have to do any of this other stuff. But I did the text box. I made the class called hidden, and it's disabled, which means you can't mess with it. And then here's the name, and there's the ID, and so on. And so what I do is because I've separated all of these, all the previous values are in a text box of where the class is called hidden, and that way I can mess with those text boxes without messing with the other text boxes. And the way I'm going to mess with them is I'm going to enable I can enable it, and now I can change these things. And this is the way I can test my optimistic concurrency. Okay, so these are supposedly the old values that are going to be compared. If let's change one of these to 51, something like that, 51. So now we've got new old values. Okay, but anyway, the point I was making earlier is clicking this enable button actually it enabled all of these so you can mess with them. And that's kind of shown here when you press class hidden back up here where this button is, which is right next to the word previous value in this field row. Function field row here's the button. This is the button. It says enable, and the method, the JavaScript method is enable all text boxes. So let's go see enable all text boxes, which is up here. This JavaScript method that I put up here. Enable here, enable all text boxes, and this just says, oh, this just enables all the text boxes. It doesn't matter because the regular text boxes are enabled anyway. So this just it says it make sure all the text boxes are enabled. In this one, we disable the hidden fields. So here we check for all the text boxes that have that are in the class called hidden, and then this disables all of this. This loops through all of them and disables all of them. So this just disables all the class ones. And why do I have this? Because after I'm done submitting, I want to disable them again, okay, just for safety. Also, if I do a form submit, if I click on the traditional way, click form submit, when it comes back, it's going to disable the hiddens again, because when the body loads, we disable the hiddens. So that's just to make the form safe, but you don't have to do anything like that because you know, we aren't going to mess with it. But if you do some fancy stuff like that, then point it out, and you know, that'll help. All right, so now we've changed the length, and let's change some other stuff because we want to make sure that something happens. So let's make this 10 or something. We don't have to do anything. But we aren't going to change length, but we want to mess with it here. So we fool it into thinking that it was actually a different value. Let's do the Ajax request. And we get back here. Update failed. Film ID was updated by another user before you finished, and that's because the first one failed. It selected the film where the description was equal to that. This is the, we can, let's take a look at this. Well, we can take a look at this way. Can we make this any, does this help to, well, anyway, so we see this is the huge select statement that was built using all the previous values to make sure everything is what it was. And back here, we're looking for something that says that the title, what do we change? We changed length. We're looking for something where the length is 51 because of this. Well, it doesn't find that record. It comes back, row count equals 0, so that means it's not there, so that means it must have changed, or it's deleted or whatever. So it comes back fail. It still goes through and does the other tests just so you can see, but really we could stop after this. We could stop after the fail and just say the check failed and the whole thing failed. Again, if we do it, let's just hit submit. And, everything goes over, even the length goes over because we changed it. But again, we only look at those that were marked that we want to change. Oh, well, anyway, the update failed, as it should have. Right. Okay. So anyway, all right. So that I don't think I have anything more to show you here. I'm probably going to make I'm going to make one more like a summary video, because I made the first video which shows you the shows you what I'm going to do, and shows my write-up, and then I made these videos explaining the code and so on. And now that this is all done, I'm going to go back and I'm going to polish up my submission, uh, and I can show you how I do that. All right, I hope this helps. Thanks for watching.